بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank all the distinguished guests, attendees, speakers, and organizers for bringing this great event again into in-person experience. Bringing the leaders, the subject matter experts, and the participants in a two-day workshop. By doing so, we are exchanging experiences, knowledge, and use cases that drives toward achieving the Saudi Vision of 2030. The Kingdom was ranked 13 in the Global Cybersecurity Index for 2018. Now the Kingdom is ranked second, repeated with UK for 2022. So we came across along all that distance. This is some of the results of the National Cybersecurity Strategy. The alignment between the Kingdom Vision 2030 and the National Cybersecurity Strategy could be summarized in 3 points. Government and ambition nation, and increased interconnectedness of the government and e-services delivered digitally. 2, business, a thriving business economy. Diversified digital economy and industries. Society, a vibrant society, digital enablement, agility, and efficiency through the technology. For the next 23 minutes, I'll be discussing forging a secure digital transformation that enables a smart city and digital economy. For that, I would like to call the panel. To the panel, Dr. Duaa Abaoud, Digital Environmental Director at Ministry of Municipal and Rural Affairs. Dr. Duaa holds PH in Information and System Technology, Master in Information Technology and Management, and Bachelor in Computer Science. She is a tech-savvy professional and demonstrated working as a researcher, consultant, manager in the United States and Saudi Arabia. Welcome,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
I would like also to call Andrew Lange, a technical director for Anomali, experienced in cybersecurity with bulk of the time spent in financial services and banking. Andrew, before that, was the head of threat intelligence for a major bank, and he is evangelist in that subject. Welcome, Andrew.
مساء الخير. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noor. So, a question to you, Dr. Duaa. What are the top 3 common foundations between smart cities and digital economy?
Thank you, Usamah, and thank you all for having me here today. I think before talking about the 3 common foundations between smart cities and digital economy, I want to talk a little bit about smart city itself, since this is a little bit off the track of the whole conference proceeding. When you look around trying to find a definition of a smart city, like all over the internet, you will find many different definition, methodology, objective, all say and claim that this is to achieve smart city initiatives at the end of the day. And that's fair, because city by nature are very diverse and different. The need and the objective of the city are also very diverse and different. The vision of the cities are diverse and different, even within the same nation. I will take Saudi Arabia as an example. If you compared the smart city objective for city like Riyadh, it's absolutely different than city like the Line in Neom. So we're talking about tremendous difference, and all is toward achieving smart city initiatives. But what common among all of these definitions and all of these objectives is the categories that smart city planners are taking care of. We're talking about smart waste management, smart infrastructure, IT connectivity, smart people. I will say I don't know if I forget something, but you all know the categories anyway. on all these categories and all this plan that they're taking care and planning are headed to achieve like higher quality of life within the city, healthier and happier environment, and also thriving businesses all around the city. All these combine to achieve thriving digital economy at the end. So I think that the foundation for digital economy is having smart city at the first place. Going back to your question, the three foundational components, I think I will say what's common between digital economy and smart city is people. We need to focus on the people, around the people, engage the people. And then we have to focus on information, whether it's information gathering, information flow, and the usability of this information you have. And what tied all these together is the systems. So innovative, tangible, created for the need of this specific environment is essential and foundational for both smart city implementation and digital economy.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Duaa. The question to you, Andrew, what is the importance of security in digital transformation?
Well, I think before I start, I want to say thank you to VirtuPort and for the generous hosts we have here. 2019 was the last time this event was live, and when I was on the stage and seeing some old friends, the reaction is, "Wallah, you've gained weight." So thank you for the warm welcome. When do we need to start thinking about security? I think we've heard so much about security, and I think what Dr. Duaa is alluding to is that everyone around us is talking about security, but there is obviously essential things that we need to consider now. When we look at smart cities and when we look at digital economies, if we're not thinking about security even before implementation, we're making mistakes. Because at the end of the day, if we want to run a digital economy that is meant to financially power an entire infrastructure, country, whatever the case may be, if we don't have security at the top of mind before we even start with those implementations, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You can liken it to basically building a palace for a king and not having a plan to have guard stations and things like that in place, right? If you're 100% think that you are secure. So I think that's when we should start thinking about, and we should never stop thinking about it. It's always an ever-continuing process. The attackers will evolve over time. We need to evolve with those things. And I think that it's important to note, and I think we may touch on it a bit later, is that the people that are trying to disrupt our smart cities, our visions, our digital economies, they do not live by the same rules as we do.
Absolutely.
So we basically need to just make sure that we understand the goals and the playing field isn't quite even. So yeah, I think that's probably the best way to think about it.
Thanks for the insights and the answer. So back to you, Dr. Duaa. What are the components and the concern for a secure digital transformation that will enable the smart city? Since you mentioned the three components about the people, information, and that, how we could take it to advance it in that level. I'm saying, in other words, if we could elaborate more again on that point.
I have another three component as well at going toward this question. But before I start talking about them, like digital transformation is one of the topic I'm fascinated about. And I think that digital transformation is enabler for growth. If you're not investing on digital transformation, you don't have a chance even to survive. And this is take us again to what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. The nation that they did not invest in digital transformation prior to the pandemic, they struggled economically and also socially. I think Saudi Arabia is also having one of the most amazing stories around this pandemic and how digital transformation allowed Saudi to manage what was going on. And also, we all know and say that the pandemic was a blessing to digital transformation in Saudi, as we are tremendously are living different behavior within our city just because of the digital transformation. The application that we'll all use, Tawakkalna, which is started by being an application to manage our movement around the city during the pandemic. Now we're utilizing this application to practice all aspects of our citizenship and all the relation with the government. And I think they will take it to beyond what we know right now. So yeah, I think digital transformation is a key here.
I think to add to that, and of course we cannot talk about a smart city or a vision if we don't mention NEOM. So we are all aware of what's happening at NEOM. The world is aware of what's happening in NEOM at this stage. But it's, to your point, it's actually quite scary how a global pandemic could change the way that we understand transformation and digitization and things like that. I think no one was prepared for the fact that everyone would now not be in the office anymore. And from a security perspective, the risk that incurs from those types of things is, it was astronomical. I think we were all kind of hit blindsided by that. And then you add on top of that the consistent threats and vulnerabilities that also we need to cope with. So I believe in what you're saying is like, having smart people involved as well. And the great vision of 2030 and what's happening at NEOM, I think the world, I'm a Formula One fan myself, so I didn't just see NEOM's name all over Formula One, but you see it everywhere. You go to a cinema, there's an ad for NEOM. And I think it's just it shows how things are changing. I mean, we can talk about the economic changes and things like that. I think the Middle East, I think the Kingdom, I think there is a huge swing in things happening around political situations and stuff like that. But I think essentially what is happening here right now, it has been happening for some time. I've been in the region for 4 years now. I've seen it change. And I did mention, I want to say this, driving into Riyadh, I saw the Princess Noura University, and it wasn't there when I came in 2019. And just the immense size of it and scope of it, if that's what the Kingdom is looking towards or building towards, I don't even want to know what's going to happen with NEOM.
You like NEOM too much. You keep
I do.
saying NEOM all the time. And I don't blame you. I do as well. Anyway, going back to the question you asked about the component within the digital transformation that affect and enable smart city and digital economy. I can mention 3 really important components, which is infrastructure, data, and security. Excellent. When I say infrastructure, I'm talking about connectivity. We have to elevate connectivity in order to achieve smart city success and digital economy. By saying this, we're talking about elevating the quality and reducing the cost and giving access to all components of the society, people, organization, and governments. Another dimension to the infrastructure is the cloud computing. Cloud computing is a key when we're talking about digital economy. In the near future, we'll be operating our city in 100% cloud computing enablers. The whole city will be operating on the cloud, and the cloud will be the new brain component to smart city initiatives at all. And the last infrastructure component is the human infrastructure. And by saying human infrastructure, I'm not just talking about education and elevating the capability, the technological capability. I'm talking also about granting access to people, to people to give them budget, to innovate and introduce technological innovation, to give them access to knowledge and data, etc. Going to the data component, I'm talking about holistic data ecosystem, not just the data itself. Okay. Yeah, we have to create an ecosystem of data within our community, within our city, in order to thrive and achieve digital economy, successful and thriving digital economy. And by saying this, I'm talking about first, the regulation and the laws around the data. We have to set them and customize them to the needs of this specific nation and specific society, because again, every society and nation are different. So there is no one way to do it all in terms of data regulation. And then we take it to another level where we have to find out and build mechanism to collect data. Like sensors is the very obvious example of data collection, but we can collect data like from various dimensions. The operational data, the observational data, and you name it. And the way to have this data exchange like all over the society body. And then you take it one layer to create and build platforms that allow the data transform. And by saying this, I'm talking about one, the open source data, which is essential. We have to have open data community to allow innovation, to like make an ecosystem of partners who thrive this society and engage in the ecosystem that we're having. And also, another thing, which is the government role, and this is, I know, for real, since I'm coming from public sector perspective, is creating and like integrated and centric data centers for the government to exchange all type of information about the society and the individual within the cities. And then you take it to the last step where you utilize this data. Here come like the role of data analytics, which is really like not just a decision-making mechanism. It is changing the way we operate, is changing the business model for the whole city if we did it right. And growing up, I heard the people always saying that data is the new oil. I don't think that data is the new oil. I think having the skill to analyze and understand the data is the actual oil here.
Absolutely.
Yes. And the last component I mentioned, which is the reason we're all here, is security.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay, I reach out to the point. Yeah, and actually, I think, like you mentioned the majority of the things I was thinking about mentioning in your last question, but what I want to really add to what you just said is like security need to be within the infrastructure of the smart city. We cannot handle, or we don't have the luxury of having it as an afterthought.
Yes.
It needs to be within the plan from the beginning. And I think if you looked at Saudi Arabia, like digital economy strategy, you will find like a huge chunk all dedicated for cybersecurity. Yeah. And how we can grant a trusted and secure data transaction and environment for this society to thrive and to have smart city at the end and to have thriving digital economy, not just digital economy, but the next level, innovation economy.
Absolutely.
She did mention also yesterday to me that in the universities, cybersecurity is being taught, it's being educated. So we are bringing people at a young age into cybersecurity. In my day, cybersecurity was something that you moved into after building computers, and now it's part of the syllabus inside of universities. And again, it's amazing to see that security as a whole is in general getting a lot more focused. So yeah, it comes to that, and we're all of these vendors standing outside here should be very fortunate and should be thankful for the opportunity to work in this great kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you. And I would like to take one note from, you mentioned people twice, and you mentioned that we need to invest and to bring the security from the beginning. So if I would like to take from that aspect and say, in light of the discussion and your background about the threat intelligence, what role does the threat intelligence play in the decision for this?
Threat intelligence is a very open topic. A lot of people have different definitions of it, but at the end of the day, it's basically just those two words, threat intelligence, and being intelligent about your threats. That basically just means that you need to have information, and we've had Mandiant here, we have all the vendors out here that collect information on the threats, the actors, try to do attribution, the malware. Now, it's very important to understand that the volume of that information is extensive and it's difficult to manage. So if you're looking at your own house and trying to keep everything in order inside of your environment, and you bring on top of that trying to see what's happening outside, what will happen in an environment would be, there would be alerts going off. So you need to have a way to really understand the intelligence. And there's technologies, Anomali, is a leader in that space, but you'd have to have a way to understand the outside, the adversary, as much as you understand yourself. It's an old, it comes from the art of war, Sun Tzu. If you don't know yourself and you don't know the enemy, you're always going to set yourself up for failure. So, I can go on for days about that, but I think everyone's heard the word threat intelligence today enough. So I will leave it there. If you have anything to add, Dr.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying.
No, that's a very fruitful discussion, and I will leave the floor for the audience if they have any questions. Yep, the mic. That's it. Oh, give the mic.
That's it.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for this fruitful presentation or fruitful session. Actually, my question to Duaa, what are the simple steps that, from your opinion, that might be considered as a key when it comes to integrating the security into the digital transformation, since we are most of the companies now are establishing the digital transformation unit. So how can we put or integrate or embed, let's say, our cybersecurity in a smooth and in a simple manner to the digital transformation without having any, let's say, eminence against this?
Thank you for your question. And my answer will be simple as well as your question. I think you have to understand the ecosystem of digital transformation that you're dealing with. When we say digital transformation is a very common terminology, but you're talking about layers and layers and layers of transformation on the operational level, on the technical level, on the infrastructure level. So you have to understand the ecosystem you're dealing with, connected to the organization or the entity you're trying to secure while you're planning for digital transformation. Think about the network security, the application security, the people or the identity integrity, all different level, and then move to the business security. And at the end, you're with digital transformation, you're transforming the organization. So you're transforming the business model, and business model will face you with a lot of resistance and struggle if you did not grant them security at the end of the story. So studying the ecosystem and studying all the layers that you're dealing with and you're planning for while you're doing digital transformation is your first steps toward planning for your security.
Thank you, Dr. Duaa. Any other question from the audience? Yes. Still not working.
My question is like this, that Assalamu alaikum. I am from Center of Excellence in Information Assurance, King Saud University.
Mashallah.
So currently working as associate professor there. So what should we do about the MAC and physical layer to embed the security or to ensure the security?
I think the question
The
to you.
physical layer?
The MAC and physical layer.
What should we do there? So, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to the physical layer is what you put down physically, right? So if you're, I mean, we've experienced a lot where there's preference as to what of the underlying hardware is allowed. So you can talk about that from a perspective of, well, which country manufactures technology for us to put down, because there may be embedded threats in there already, you know? We're not going to mention names, but that is, what do we do about that? We need to be picky about where we buy from. Also, trust and verify. You know, if it just because one thing is cheaper, and you know, we can take cell phones as an example. Just because this is a cheaper cell phone, it has the same kind of technology as another cell phone. It may come with a little bit of extra that will leak information, right? Which is something you do not want to have. So that same application needs to be done when we are building smart cities, not just looking for the cheapest bidder, but have a potential audit committee structures in place to ensure that anything that we go in at a hardware level is sufficiently, I won't say protected, but won't leak information, essentially. We can add applications on top to protect all of our databases and things like that. But in the hardware layer of things, there is sometimes a bit of bugs and codes that we need to know about. And you know, we can name the names, but we won't. But I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. One last question from the audience, please. Or have any question? Yes, the mic. Thank you.
It's not working. Yeah. My question now, the people have a confusion between digitalization and digital transformation. Is there any steps clear for here in Saudi Arabia? We want now to, as the panelists here mentioned, that we are going to transform to create smart cities. Are there any plan for or any deadline for starting the first city? Is there any preparation for that?
I think Dr. Duaa may be more...
No one informed me about any deadline, so I cannot answer this question.
So, because we are hearing about a lot of people asking us, so when we are the first city will see the sunlight, are we ready for that? Is there any infrastructure for that?
Like the announcement and like the planning stages did started, but like deadline for when we're gonna see this in real life, I don't know, but we're hoping that we're gonna see it soon. We're really excited about it.
I mean, if we look at the UAE, look at Dubai, I mean, I live there. It's constantly evolving.
Absolutely.
The Burj Khalifa went up before many of the other buildings went up. But if you stand inside of Dubai right now, there are so many buildings that are fantastic. And this is brick and mortar. We're not even talking digital, digital. So if we take into consideration what still needs to happen, right? We are quite a ways away from having flying cars, underground railways in the line. My obsession with NEOM. We are quite a ways away, but there's things happening there. And I think, once the brick and mortar is in place, then once you start talking about digital transformation, digital transformation, in my view, is going from paper to binary. That's quite a simple way to look at it. But in terms of smart cities, now we're talking AI. Now, I don't have the authority to talk AI, so I won't talk AI. I do know some about it, but I will say now we're talking things like self-driving vehicles. We are talking things like sustainable agriculture driven by artificial intelligence, knowing exactly, without any human intervention, what temperatures need to be used, what ecosystems we need to grow specific things in the desert, So we see it happen all over the place. And Dubai is also, and the UAE and Abu Dhabi and everywhere in the UAE, it's still evolving. There's a lot of transformation happening there. So it will be a story that will outlive us all.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And like when we're talking about smart cities, we're talking about tremendous ecosystem. So we see a lot of changes. Like if you took the governmental sector, like just 2 years before now, we're practicing the governmental processes in absolutely different way. Like if someone told me 2 years ago that that's how we'll be like practicing our governmental transactions and operation, I will be hesitant to believe.
For example, Ministry of Justice, to add to your point.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right now, everything is digitalized, and just you go and put the information, and everything is digital. You got a copy, I got a copy, and all.
Absolutely. This is a rigid example, really. We moved from zero, like digital transformation, to almost like 98 digital processes around the operation of the ministry. So I think this is tremendous change, and it's happening like step by step. And at the end, we will achieve the great smart city that we will hoping for.
And to that point, these are achievements.
Absolutely.
Which becomes now the standard.
Excellent
Once you've
point.
achieved it, the blueprint is done, now it's the standard. Okay. So this would be the standard for the smart cities. So what has happened, that the transformation that has happened will now be standards. So we're all excited to see it.
Thank you. So thank you all. What a priceless, valuable information you just all shared in this session. I am privileged and honored to moderate this panel with a shining expert and talented individuals in technology and cybersecurity. Dr. Duaa, Andrew, thank you for your insight and enriching the content for this topic. And thank you, audience, for all the questions that you answered that you asked during this session and for the interaction. Thank you all once again.
Thank you.
Shukran jazeelan.